And you see, we are back on after a long weekend.
What's up? What's good?
What is good? Sports
Hey, hold
Back
up
Door
before.
podcast. Back on the set after another weekend of so many sports because now it's the real candy store. We're not just trying to get by like in the summertime. You're talking baseball, football. We already talked about a little bit of basketball. Some preseason games were also played. The NFL is here, college and pro. Everything's good, man. Everything's good right now in sports. Hockey even starting up. We might not do a whole lot of hockey talking, but just letting you know it's starting up. Hey, you got to mention it. It's a sport.
Yeah,
But
they play
man,
tennis and soccer year round too, right? And
yeah,
golf.
that's another thing. Well,
I want
tennis
to
and
talk
soccer
about
all
it.
year round. We're not talking about that. I can dig some tennis though. I mean, as a New Yorker, come on, U.S. Open. You got to talk a little tennis
No,
every
but
now and then. But
something I do have to talk about after our show. It may have even happened during our show.
mm-hmm,
Rest in peace, 51, Dick Butkus,
unbelievable. Yeah,
one of the baddest linebackers of all time, if not the most vicious and fiercest, scariest mofo to ever take the gridiron.
I'll say
He's a
that.
legend at Illinois. He was a legend at CVS, Chicago Vocational School in Chicago, Illinois, and of course he's a monster of the Midway. Um, and I'm a little concerned that maybe that inspired the Bears to play above their level and win Thursday night. But that was 2 weeks in a row for Justin Fields to look like a
Yes,
real NFL quarterback. So the first week was against Denver, so you kind of throw that one out because Denver gave up 70 points the week before, so their defense sucks. And then was it the Butkus factor on Thursday night? I don't know. I hope not. They looked like a real NFL team. I won't say like a playoff team or a contender, but they actually looked like they could get stuff done. They did, and the first 3 weeks they looked like they couldn't get anything done.
and
So
Justin Fields, as you said, looking like a real quarterback now. It looks good. DJ Moore looking like you got what you paid for now. Hey,
yeah,
throwing up some serious numbers.
yeah, but not to sidetrack the show. It's not about the Bears. Just wanted to send that shout out. Rest in peace, Dick Butkus, true
Absolutely.
legend.
As soon as the show ended, man, I got on top of that. I saw it all like, oh man. And you know what? We know these guys got to go eventually, man. But we watched them our whole lives because they played before we even were born. I mean, doing their best before we were even born. We're just watching their legacy, and now because of YouTube, we're able to see a lot of things they've done. But names like Dick Buckets, those names don't die. You have players that come through. Terrell Davis, you know what? People mention him only when he's mentioned. Dick Buckets is still talked about even when anyone's acting like a linebacker. Someone's in the middle of the field doing something as a linebacker. Dick Buckets is always going to get the credit somewhere. So this is a legendary
Right.
player coming from a legendary organization, one of the founding members of the NFL in terms of being the charter member, Chicago Bears. Man, yo, that actually I felt it when he died, man. When I heard that he died, damn. We know he's an old dude. He had to go sometime, but when it goes,
Right.
it don't make it any easier.
He's one of those guys when you're on social media and you're scrolling or whatever, and you come across a highlight video of his, you watch it.
Yeah,
You, every time you watch it, because they're just great highlights. I mean, like I mentioned, he's fierce. He was tough. He was mean. But then off the field, he was a sweetheart. He did those Miller Lite commercials. He was
I
very
remember
kind to
those.
them. He was in movies. He had a good sense of humor. You would think, someone like him be ornery, but he wasn't. He was just all on the football field, man. The dude was just a man's man and a legend.
And to think about it, he played for Illinois with the high school in Chicago as well, and then playing for the hometown Chicago Bears. You know, even though it was different back then, where that was a possibility ability for you to do that, he certainly got a chance to play for his childhood team. Was probably arguably the best player, definitely the best defensive player in my opinion for the Chicago Bears. You could probably say something different or vouch for that, but yeah, he's synonymous with Chicago defense. If you mention the Chicago defense, you're not thinking Mike Singletary, man. You're still thinking Dick Buckets.
Lucas, right?
Yeah.
I
And we're
think
talking
there,
85 Bears, a whole nine, still Dick Buckets.
I think there's a reason Rocky named his dog Butkus.
Exactly. You know what? That's true too. Buckets, man. But damn, man, it does bother us and to know that we're gonna be around for a while. Hopefully us and you'll see
God
more
willing.
legends pass on, man. It's gonna feel the same sting. It lets you know, one, that you're getting older. It lets you know, two, that they're legends and that, they're just great players, but they're still human, and it's time to pass on, man. It just sucks. Walter Payton passed away, but he was a young guy. He had an ailment. This is someone who lived out their entire life. 80 years old is pretty damn old. And, hey, and it happened.
Right.
Yeah, but
Yeah, and he went in his piece. In his sleep, from what I heard. So he
that's
went out
peaceful.
quietly. Good for him. We should all go out that way.
Yeah, no suffering. And we're going to do a show on Wednesday in honor of Dick Buckus about the great linebackers in the NFL. I mean, what other way to do it? If we're going to find something to talk about specifically, it's going to be about the great linebackers. And Dick Buckus, obviously one of those great linebackers, and I think he opened the door for the way the game is supposed to be played by middle linebackers.
Yeah, you rank linebackers, especially middle linebackers.
Yep.
He's up there. He's in the conversation. You may rank him one, two, or three, but he's in the conversation.
Easily in the conversation, not even because of his name. Watch the film, period.
Right.
His film is timeless. Watching what he did against the run is timeless. The game has changed. You wonder, could he have played in pass coverage and all that? He played when he played, and he was the meanest son of a bitch on the field when he played, regardless of who they played.
There's one play where he tackled the lineman to tackle the ball carrier. Like, he was in the way, so he tackled both of them.
You know, I've heard some things from Ed O'Bradovich, the other Chicago Bear, old Chicago Bear defensive lineman. He had some stories to say about Dick Buckus, about Dick telling him to hold up a player so he could get a good hit on him. He's like, I'm trying to hang on for dear life to hold him up. But anyways, rip to Dick Buckus.
He come on the radio a lot here in Chicago. That man has some stories.
Yeah, I bet. And so once again, rip to Dick Buckus, legendary, great, anything you want to throw out there, it's him on the football field. He personified the way the game is supposed to be played in an era when it was played by some of the meanest SOBs out there who were really playing, didn't come off the field. When they were injured, that means that they needed to play harder. And that's what it was. Yeah. But hey, let's go back to some teams now this past weekend that should have played harder. The Dallas Cowboys could have played harder. They could have used Dick Buckus even before he passed because they were blown out 42-10 by the 49ers. Our preseason Super Bowl representatives, and probably, I don't think because we didn't name it at the time, but hey, I think it's almost safe to say if things continue this way, they will also be the Super Bowl champs.
Yeah, they're definitely staking a strong claim to be best team in the NFL. Philly's undefeated also, but the beating they put down on the Cowboys last night, it was just a systematic beatdown. They beat them in every phase of the game. Their coaching staff outcoached the Dallas coaching staff. I mean, it looked like they didn't even belong on the same field for the most part. Their defense was suffocating. Dak's Dak. We talked about it before. What's he going to do when the defense doesn't give him short fields or doesn't give him 14 points on turnovers, a pick six, a fumble scoop, or whatever? And you saw last night, he went up against a tough defense, a lot of errant throws, 3 interceptions, and it seemed like same old Dak. No matter what what his objective was for the year to minimize his INTs, he made up for the first few weeks. Last night, he's got 4 now.
Yeah, and Dak, what do you make of him? I've always thought he was an average quarterback. I didn't think he was a special quarterback. I don't think it's a knock against him. It's just identifying the talent that he brings to the field and for the Dallas Cowboys. The reason why he wasn't getting these huge contracts, some people out there want to make it a different issue of why he didn't get the huge contract, but he's pretty average, and that's it. He deserves an average contract, but with inflation being what it is, with quarterbacks like Daniel Jones getting that kind of money, well, I can see why people were wondering why he didn't get his bag, but he doesn't deserve a bag. Yeah. He doesn't deserve, obviously, not no Joe Burrow kind of money. He doesn't deserve Justin Herbert kind of money. He doesn't deserve any of the elite quarterbacks because he has never been elite. That's where it stops. He's an older quarterback still acting like he can't read defenses. And we see last night, once again, 2 picks, confused, getting sacked. He just didn't show anything.
I thought it was 3.
3 picks?
Yeah, it was 3. I'm pretty sure.
Look at it. What I mean? And this is a guy going into a season putting himself
halfway to his goal.
his goal, man. You almost come on, man. You almost got your goal already in this water
Whoever
cup.
whoever sets a whoever heard of setting an interception goal? Like
Him.
you just play, try not to throw interceptions. But anyway, yeah, I agree with what you said. He's average at best. I'd say he's better than Daniel Jones, but
Ooh,
if the
that's not
Giants,
saying much.
no, I'm just talking
Oh,
about getting paid. If the Giants are dummies for making that decision to give Daniel Jones a bag, well, they're the fools for doing it. And you see the results of what's going on in New York now. So maybe Jerry Jones is justified. There's a lot of people, as
ooh,
you mentioned, why isn't Dak getting paid? Why isn't Dak getting paid? Maybe Dak was overrated. Um, I didn't think he was ever one of the top
nope.
five quarterbacks in the league, and I'm not sure he's top 10. I mean, lucky if he's top 15. So I don't know what Dallas is going to do though. Trey Lance ain't the answer.
Yeah, he's a solid quarterback, I think, at best. And I think his best days was a solid quarterback. Now he's just a quarterback. You need that defense. They have a great defense, but I remember when quarterbacks could look like they were doing the right job when the defense was that great. You had that Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense, and you had Brad Johnson. And you know about that Trent Dilfer had that defense in Baltimore. He wasn't great, but the defense was that great. Dallas doesn't have a defense like that. San Francisco has somewhat of a defense like that, but their quarterback is actually a good quarterback. It's like someone is still waiting for the shoe to drop on Brock Purdy because there's like he's not supposed to be this good. Why? Because he was taken so late in the draft. No, he's this good because he's showing us he's this good. He is what he's showing. Kind of like Bill Parcells said, "You are what your record says." He is what he's showing, and he's doing it on a week to week basis. Yes, he's surrounded with some damn good talent on offense and a defense that can hold the fort. But so did a whole bunch of other quarterbacks in history. Joe Montana had a whole bunch of offensive weapons, and so did Steve Young and other great quarterbacks out there had offensive weapons. And now Brock Purdy has the same thing, and he's taking full advantage of it. George Kittle couldn't be freaking stopped yesterday.
You know what it reminds me of? When
Mm,
Tom Brady went into the starting lineup for the Patriots. They went on a winning streak, and everybody was like, "Oh, this guy's not that good. He's a
yep.
fifth round pick," and blah blah blah. And Purdy was the very last pick of the draft. Hasn't
That
thrown an
was it.
interception. The highest rated QB in the league. He's playing at an amazing level right now. I don't know how long he can stay at this level, but if he can stay anywhere near it, man, that 49ers team is going to be tough to beat because if the defense is healthy, it's hard. They're hard to run on. They get pressure on the quarterback, so it's hard to throw for a lot of yardage on them. I'm not saying they're going to go undefeated. Everybody has a bad night here or there. But man, when the chips are down come playoff time, they're going to be very difficult to eliminate.
Not to mention they'll be at home making these defensive when
It
people
looks
come to
that
the
way.
NFL, they keep this up. But I think it's going to be hard for Brock Purdy not to continue this because he has so many big pieces around him. So if he's going to have a rough
Weapons, yeah.
time throwing the ball, you're going to have Christian McCaffrey being able to run effectively or catch those high percentage passes the way he can still run effectively. Debo Samuel, you have so many players now. Kettle doing his thing, so much going on in that team, and then you got to still deal with that defense. They just have right now the best team in the NFL. I don't even think there's a question. There's an undefeated team out there, and Philly was the runner-ups last year to the Super Bowl champs, the Kansas City Chiefs. But right now, San Francisco is better than Philadelphia on paper,
I
and they're
think
better than
so.
the Chiefs on paper. They haven't really had a tough game. In fact, the tough game they did have was against the Rams because the Rams turned out to be a better team than expected this year. But San Francisco doing it all. The Dallas Cowboys just don't have America's team. You know what? I can deal with that moniker. There's no problem with it. You can say it all you want, but the results aren't looking like America's team over the past several years, 20 years or whatever. So it was just a bad game for them. It wasn't just that something went wrong. It was San Francisco was that good, pounded them in every facet that you said, and the end result was what it was: 42-10. Dallas is was
And
in
I'm
over
not
their
sure
head.
it was that close. And you have Micah Parsons saying, "Oh, a couple plays here, we fix a couple things." Man, you are delusional, Micah Parsons. Delusional. You got your
Unbelievable.
ass whooped. You guys, they have to make major improvements in a bunch of different areas to compete with San Francisco. They
Yeah,
have
right now,
12
San
games. They'll have
Francisco,
12 games to do it.
I think head and shoulders above all the teams right now, but there are some other teams out there that'll make things fun. It takes a few injuries for things to kind of fall, come into place for other teams or fall apart. Because San Francisco gets a few injuries because those things come in droves. I've
Mhm.
seen a couple of plays yesterday. Buffalo was just dropping plays like flies over in London or over in well, I think they played somewhere else with Tottenberg, I think, whatever it was. But they played yesterday over in the UK, and they were dropping players, and they lost to the Jaguars because of it. In fact, there's something I wanted to talk about in terms of the Jaguars playing the Bills. The Jaguars were there for 2 straight weeks because they played 2 games in a row. That's an advantage when you have the Bills coming in
Yeah,
50 hours before the game starts to prepare, get acclimated to the time zones and all that. I think that wasn't fair for the Bills. Does the
I
result
agree.
change? I think there's a possibility, but we saw what we saw. And Trevor Lawrence looked good, but did he look good because Buffalo was at that disadvantage because of time and travel and jet lag, or because the Jaguars are doing what the Jaguars did last year? The turning point of their season was in London, and that's when things started turning and they started winning. And when they came back to Jacksonville and even went on the road, they were winning. They went to the playoffs and they were winning. But yeah, I think that was unfair for Buffalo to have to play them. Let Buffalo play 2 games overseas as well, back to back weeks, so you have an even game.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know why the NFL scheduled it like that and gave Jacksonville a huge advantage. And I have to say that it did have an impact on Buffalo because that was the best the Jacksonville offense looked all year.
Yeah,
Best Trevor Lawrence looked all year. Best Travis Etienne looked all year.
A-Team was everywhere.
Right. So I think there's something to that. That is going across the pond. That's a long trip,
It is.
and I'm sure it has an impact on your body. And if they didn't have time to adjust properly, and Jacksonville players did because they were over there 2 weeks, as you mentioned, that was an unfair advantage.
Yeah, I don't know what the NFL was thinking. I remember when I went out to Europe and we went out to Finland, I believe there was a 6 or 7 hour time difference for the East Coast here in the state of Florida, or even just the East Coast of the United States. It was completely different. Your eyes are wide open while you're over there. The sun didn't set until 10:30 at night, well, which should have been night. And it was just crazy, man. You're going towards the
Yeah.
Arctic Circle and you're like, man, time is different. Yes, I understand how that could be a problem. But you know what?
And
Early in this season,
coming back is going to be an issue also.
you crash. Yeah,
You
you're
know,
gonna crash. And the Jaguars have to play this week at home. They have to play. Typically, you get a bye week once you do an overseas deal. They're coming back here to play in this Sunday at home. So we'll see how that works out. Maybe that's the get back that another team's going to get at them for
so
this
Buffalo
upcoming game.
Buffalo off on Sunday.
I don't know if Buffalo's off. I hadn't checked that, but I
They
just know the
should be,
Jaguars
but
are playing.
um,
They need to be off though.
I've never been to Europe, but my son went to Europe.
Yeah.
He went to Spain in the summertime. Well,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, late spring. Anyway, but when he came back, I think he got back maybe like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and he didn't. He went pretty much straight to bed. He was exhausted, and he didn't wake up till like 2 o'clock the next day.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, no,
Because of
no,
that
wait,
time, that jet
yeah,
lag. How long was he out there when he went out there? About a week?
he was there for a week.
Yeah, because my
Yeah,
daughter did the
7 days.
same thing, but she was 16 years old at the time. I don't think the age matters because you're young. And she was out there for 10 days and she went to a couple of those European cities and countries. And I don't remember her going straight to sleep when she came back, but it wasn't the same. She wasn't sleeping all
Yeah,
day, but it wasn't no staying up all the time as she used to do. But unbelievable how that jet lag, man, gets you. And
yeah. The
going back
time,
to
the
what we were
time
talking about,
change and all of that.
yeah,
You
yeah,
you
the
leave
time
over
change,
there.
it matters. It matters.
Yeah, you leave over
That's why
there
I
at
took
10 o'clock at night. You come back and it's 6 p.m. You know,
and your body doesn't know how to react.
right?
And that's why I was wondering when the NFL this early in the season had teams coming from the West Coast to the East Coast playing 1 o'clock games when your body clock is 3 hours behind. They said something about that years ago, how they were going to be cognizant of how that being a probably advantage for the East Coast team. And they do it this year, whatever, man. So the NFL is just a bunch of hypocrites. But, anyways, before the season started, we were talking about preseason MVPs. Well, how about rookies of the year? I mean, we look at Brock right now. Brock Purdy is possibly in the MVP race. I think he's up there. He has to be.
Yeah,
But
he
as
is.
far as rookies go, Devon Achane, come on. Achane has to be from the Miami Dolphins. He has to be in the mix in terms of the rookies of the year. We looked at the usual suspects. People like Bijan Robinson. I took Jahmyr Gibbs up in Detroit, even though Detroit's having a good year. He's having a solid year, but nothing that stands out. But what does stand out is what Achane is doing with Miami with those ridiculous yards per carry. Dude's averaging 11.4 yards a carry. 13.7 yesterday alone. He's like a big play waiting to happen anytime he touches the ball.
Yeah, right now he's in the conversation, making major impact. I think C.J. Stroud, it's his to lose. He's playing well above average. He's not
Yeah,
thrown an interception yet. He has the
that's
Texans
crazy right there.
respectable. The Texans were terrible last year. They have a
That's true.
couple wins, and I mean, no one expected that.
No,
If we talk about rookies need to develop. Do you sit, have them learn, or do you play them right away? CJ Stroud's like, miss me with all that. I'm playing and I'm playing well.
yeah, and I was thinking that he wasn't going to succeed, not because of what he had done in the football field at Ohio State, because the numbers showed you he should have transitioned to something decent in the NFL over time, like most quarterbacks do. I was looking at the Wonderlic, well, the new battery they're using for the in place of the Wonderlic, but I was looking at the Wonderlic score, like, bruh, come on. I started remembering Vince Young and what he went gone through, and I know what the Wonderlic is for. They prefer their quarterbacks to be a little more astute when it comes to that because they're the ones who have to decipher these defenses and all that time that's out there. You have to process information this quickly, and it gives them somewhat of an idea of how it may go. And when your score is that low, that's kind of, in their opinion, a precursor to, man, you might not be able to decipher that 400 or 500 page playbook that we might have for you. Throw the playbook out the window. He making his own plays in the grass and in the dirt, and he's just doing well. 177 passes without an interception. This isn't even just a rookie record. This is an NFL record.
Yeah, I mentioned Peyton Manning's rookie year. I played the defense in fantasy football. Whatever defense was available, because obviously other guys in the league had
Yeah,
some defenses, but that strategy is going out the window against the Texans. He's
yeah.
not throwing no pick sixes. He's not even throwing interceptions. You know, so that strategy is not working against the Texans, and he's playing at a very high level right now. And you can only assume he's going to get better. With more playing time, more experience. Do we know that if the game's even slowed down for him?
Man,
Is he still adjusting to the speed of the game? Because if he's still adjusting to the speed of the game, once
he
it
can be a
does slow
dangerous
down
player.
for him, woo,
Man, that guy gonna be dangerous as hell if he's just slowing down. If the speed of the game hasn't slowed down to him, and he's treated like this. When it finally slows down, which is supposed to be maybe the end of your second year or your third year when they decide if you're gonna be a franchise quarterback, he's gonna be a serious problem for a long time to come. And let's hope no serious or crazy injuries happen to him. Like that happened to a degree with Joe Burrow. Not looking the way he always looked, but Joe Burrow, at least for one game, has gotten it back on track, and the Cincinnati Bengals were able to pull it off. He throws 3 touchdowns, has 317 yards, the most of the season so far. But Jamar Chase was the recipient of all 3 of those touchdowns.
yeah. Think about it. A lot of the things we said last week, man, those guys came out and proved us wrong. I talked about Joe Burrow. Maybe he should sit, get
Take a seat.
healthy. I said on Thursday, same old Bears. They're gonna lose
I
tonight.
remember that. I was watching it.
Same old Bears. I mean, I was happy. I'm happy to be wrong, but what were they showing us up to that? Why did we feel that way? Why did
Yeah,
I say what I
exactly.
said? It's because what they were showing us. But I also said he's gonna get healthy, and the Bengals gonna go on a run at some point, and maybe that run starts with yesterday's game.
Now, is he healthy or is he fighting through the injury? Because, with that much money on the line, he's a man and he's a player, he's a competitor. He wants to prove that he deserves that money. So even if he's hurt, probably a shade away from being injured, but he's hurt. But he's going to go out there, be out there for his team. He knows the chirping, which happens, whether it's people that are Cincinnati Bengals fans or just people who are a Cincinnati Bengals fan who want to be the ones that say, I told you so. You shouldn't have given them the big money. There's always going to be someone like that. You can go undefeated and there will still be someone who tells you how much you shouldn't have gotten, even if you're the MVP of the Super Bowl, you're undefeated and all of the above. But Joe Burrow, this is one of the guys I want to see succeed because we don't know these guys, but he carries himself well as a competitor, and you saw how well he's been playing. You saw since he's come into the league. I still remember the time at LSU. I remember his second year at LSU, his first year at LSU when I didn't think he was that good, but then he finally clicked in the bowl game and just took off from there. We see him now. I just hope he continues to succeed, and win. At least not when my team is on at stake with the Jets, but those wins are coming far and few between these days. But yeah, Joe Burrow, man, putting up those Joe Burrow kind of numbers yesterday, and finally getting back into the win column.
And maybe it took Jamar Chase to light a fire under that team's ass, man, because
Yeah,
he wasn't happy, but I'm sure he was satisfied yesterday. 3 touchdowns. I don't know how many yards, but
197 yards,
huh?
197 yards and
Oh,
three
okay. I was gonna say
touchdowns.
I was about to say it had to be close to 200.
That's what I'm
He was,
saying. With some of these yardage, man, your boy up there, DJ Moore, getting over 200 yards, setting the pace for everybody. They still haven't caught him. And then now you got tight ends getting yards, you got the receivers getting yards, running backs like A changes getting yards, catching and running the ball. Dudes are sick out there. But I like the way
yeah,
this NFL offense is going. But there are defenses like San Francisco's who could slow it down and let you know that this may be an offensive league, but these defenses could thump you and make you think twice about it. And Lamar
yeah,
Jackson, that brings me there, and how he played against the Steelers yesterday, and
yeah.
17-10. Look, man, I was giving Lamar Jackson credit for finally being able to read defenses. I went on the internet and people telling me, "No, man, he still can't read defenses." Man, we're almost back to square one with this thing. No touchdowns, one interception. He's still running, but so what? We hire quarterbacks to pass the ball and maybe run, not run, perhaps throw a pass, and just halfback option yourself to a Super Bowl.
Well, I watched the game, and he wasn't bad. In my opinion, he wasn't bad. It was 10-3 late in the first half. They had the ball at like the 13-yard line, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
4th and 2. And instead of kicking the field goal, they went for it. They didn't get it. So they should have went up 13-3, probably going into the half. But it's still 10-3. The points they left out there, right?
Yeah,
Uh, and I don't remember if it was that drive or not, but they dropped 8 passes in the game. 3 of them were in the end zone.
8 passes. I didn't hear about that
Eight,
part.
yeah, there were 8 passes dropped.
That's
Zay
senseless.
Flowers dropped a couple. Even Mark Andrews dropped 1 or 2. It was ridiculous. I mean, it's not like they're reaching out and it went off their hands. No, they had their hands up. One guy, the ball just went straight through his hands. Rex Ryan talked about it on Get Up this morning. He says he doesn't know why their hands are apart and not their fingers together. And he says that he heard that their wide receivers coach or somebody on their offense, whatever, they throw rugby balls at them instead of regular footballs.
Yeah,
I don't know if the rugby balls are shaped differently or whatever.
bigger.
Huh?
They're bigger. The rugby balls.
It makes no sense.
It's like somebody throwing a basketball at them.
That's why they're used to catching the bigger balls. So here comes game day and they're missing the smaller ball. So I'm not going to kill Lamar Jackson. He could have played better, yes. And then the strip sack to end the game, that's not his fault. The lineman should have blocked better. It's not like he was holding the ball long. Actually, he was ready to throw it when he got hit. But again, 8 drop passes, those are drive killers. Those are
Absolutely.
those are touchdowns that's 6 points not being cashed in. So I'm not gonna kill Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson.
But I've been wanting to see a few more multi-touchdown games. I mean, you can throw an interception here and there because he can kind of make up with it by running the ball like he always does and being electric that way. It's just that the numbers aren't there. It's not even all about the overall total numbers. If you're just throwing touchdowns and you're getting 3-yard touchdowns and you got 5 of them, you're going to probably win the game. But I wanted to see more of him looking like a regular quarterback all of a sudden. You used to have it on occasion where he would sit in the pocket every now and then because it looks like he's thinking about, I need to stay in the pocket. But then his instincts take off and he takes off and he's not doing it anymore. I want to see more of Lamar Jackson being a pocket quarterback when he needs to be and then still running because that's who he is. I want to see that part, being able to compartmentalize and use it during the situational play. It just hasn't been like that with consistency. He's dynamic, and there's no question about that. He got an MVP because he's dynamic and happened to throw the ball that well. But it's like he hit a wall with the way he throws the ball or the way he's reading defenses and the way he's supposed to play the quarterback spot. It's a different quarterback spot that they've had in the past with the RPO and all of that. But I think he has more to the table to bring in terms of passing the ball, and he has the arm to do it, all of that. I just want to see more of that consistently.
Well, it'd help if his receivers catch the ball.
Yeah, that would help. No, but this isn't a one-off. I mean, are they dropping it every game because the numbers aren't looking that great every game? Now, there's times when he does look great, but then at this point in his career, it shouldn't be on and off. It should be.
The other thing is they've been playing division rivals. And your division rivals know you better than
That's a
anybody.
tough division. There, we already know that.
Yeah, and they get up, and it's always, especially in that division, the games could be ugly, right? Like the Steelers game yesterday, Steelers and Ravens. It wasn't a very pretty game, but that's because they're rivals, and rivalries tend to create close games. I think once they start playing outside the division, you'll probably see more points scored by the Ravens.
Yeah, the teams that aren't as familiar because you are playing those teams twice a year, and you're going on the road to play some of these teams. Even Pittsburgh, while they're kind of sort of reeling and Kenny Pickett is still trying to have an identity, he's still at home. And Pittsburgh still has that legacy. You still have Mike Tomlin, regardless of what people are trying to say about him, about being a bad coach. Come on, man. Get out of here with Mike Tomlin being a bad coach. But anyways, yeah, I just want to see more from Lamar Jackson, especially with the money that he's getting now. Yeah, I think a lot of people want to see more, Baltimore fans included. But Detroit, hey, what more can I say? I mean, they did play the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers aren't very good. They have their issues themselves. I think they've gotten a mulligan this year because they got the number 1 pick overall. Bryce Young, still learning the NFL. Already he's been hurt. He's back. Didn't do much. But now Detroit, after 5 games, is 4-1. And they have a win against the defending Super Bowl champs on the road.
Yeah, I think they'll probably do the reverse of last year, where they started out, they sucked, and then they won a bunch of games in a row. I think they'll probably lose a bunch of games in a row this year. Once they start playing,
Detroit's had a history of doing
real
that
teams.
kind of thing.
Huh?
Detroit's had a history of doing that kind of thing. If they started off hot, things kind of fizzled at the end.
I don't trust them. I don't believe in them. And you mentioned they beat the Chiefs. Yeah, that was without Kelsey, and that was with what's his name?
Oh, the drop passes.
Yeah, the one that went right through his hands for the pick six.
Tony.
I mean, other than that, I mean, they would have scored 14 points. That game, I wasn't impressed with that.
Well, right now, they are what their record says they are. They're 4-1. They're leading the NFC North so far. I'm just saying, wow, because I thought they would be better this year because I thought they would be better this year. But right now, we're only well lost.
I mean, it's not like they're doing what the Dolphins have been doing. 40 points here.
There aren't too many teams doing that.
Things to make an impression, things to be impressed about. They're winning, but yeah, they play Carolina. Big deal.
How about the next thing of Kirk Cousins, the Minnesota Vikings, 1 win? He's throwing up all of these yards. He's getting all of these touchdowns. He's leading the league in touchdowns, and they can't win. I can't say these are empty stats. These are garbage stats that Kirk Cousins is putting up. I'm not really looking at Kirk Cousins as he has to be a good quarterback because of what he's doing right now. But he's putting up the numbers that a quarterback should be putting up. He's getting zero support from his team. 1 win after all of this time. Kirk Cousins would you call him an elite quarterback?
No, I would not. He hasn't.
With the numbers,
he hasn't proven it in the playoffs.
No, he hasn't proven it in the playoffs. But heading into, I guess if kind of like when we're going to talk about later with Clayton Kershaw in the regular season, putting up those nice numbers, is he one of those regular season elite players? Because right now, the numbers, he's doing his part. What more can he do?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have him in the lower half of the top 10.
Yeah, I can live with that, man. And not only that, going into the season, he was looking for a new contract extension, and the team was like, nah. So we don't know whether he's going to be with the Minnesota Vikings at all next season, or is he going to do enough this year to gain their confidence further, and they'll just extend him. I'm just looking at this like, man, this guy can't win for winning. He can't win for losing. He can't win for winning and can't win for losing. He's putting up the numbers. That's winning. getting the losses, that's losing. Yeah, it just I'm kind of feeling bad for him, man. He just stuck in a spot in Minnesota. Man, what can you say about them? I mean, they're in a division that's up for grabs, and
I'm
right now
sure
it's only Detroit
I'm
grabbing it.
sure there's a lot of disappointed Vikings fans right now who expected more from them, and they're not producing. They're not getting what they expected. I mean, that goes for me as a Bears fan. I expected the Bears to be better. The last 2 weeks is kind of what I expected.
Mm-hmm.
I expected them to be better on offense, but have a crappy defense and lose games. But at least better. That's all I wanted. I was bet. I just wanted better, and that's why I was so disappointed first 3 weeks because it seemed like they were worse. But another thing I didn't mention, their lineman came back, Tevin Jenkins. So and then they played Nate Davis. So they had addressed the offensive line, but they had injuries, and now they had those guys come back. So if you watch the game against the Redskins, they protected Justin,
So
and
now, so
so
what do
so
you
now
think
you
as a
saw him look through his
he went through his
progression.
progressions and he was making the
Right,
play. He was reading freaking defense, and I was tripping. Like, yo, bro, I'm serious. I'm like, yo, bro, he's going from left to right, making the
exactly.
decision, and you already know he can still run the ball when he needs to
And
run it.
he had the time to do it.
But how
So
much of this might be all the turmoil off the field that was going on in the early going of the season? Maybe they finally got out of that murky part of it.
it was
Offensive
probably
defensive coordinator leaving
getting
everything.
Chase Claypool off the field didn't
Oh,
hurt
get
either.
him off the field, man.
Yeah, like I think I mentioned the Patrick Ewing effect, addition by subtraction.
What a gas
And
that
then they
dude turned
found
out
a
to be.
sucker. They found a sucker to swap picks with him. Uh,
Yeah, they did. But
I mean, yeah,
he was
it's
getting
just
blown.
a six for a seven. What's the big deal? But well, hey, picking in the sixth round is better than picking in the seventh round, and we got rid of a scrub. So
Yeah, he got rid of a. I think it might have been a cast in the locker room. He's out. I don't know if it's a coincidence that he's out. You'll get the win, and DJ Moore has a huge day, and Fields is looking like a quarterback now that he should be now that he's in his third year. I think the real litmus test is going to be next week or when their next game does come, and you can see if it continues. Even though they're losing calls, you can still see the difference in the
right,
team that's looking like they want to win and that they have opportunities to win. They're not blowing it because of a player that's half-assing it or a coach that's not there, messing up the chemistry behind the scenes. But yeah, man, it
but
was nice to watch
here's a
that game.
question for you: does Belichick, the GM, have the balls to fire Belichick, the coach?
Woo, bro! I'm telling you what, man, you get shut out like that. You know what? You can't believe social media these days because there was people talking about there's rumors about Bill Belichick getting fired. I don't know if he gets fired during the
I might
season.
have started it. I tweeted, when does the seat start getting warm?
Probably started it for real. And I'm like, yo, does this guy with this credibility get fired during the season? But then I think about it. You know what? The only common denominator is Tom Brady. He wasn't winning before Tom Brady. He's not winning after Tom Brady. Tom Brady left him and still won.
Right.
So maybe this Bill Belichick isn't as great. He's great because he's a defensive mind, but they were winning those games because of Tom Brady's offense. Tom hasn't been around and Bill hasn't won. Man, it's a bad look to get rid of him when the season is still going. I would
And
rather he resign.
his
I think he
quarterback
needs enough
hasn't
respect that he
progressed.
could just say he resigned. You know he's fired, but have a press conference saying I resigned, give your reasons that someone typed out for you, and just move on
Yeah,
to
but
your next
they would have
endeavor.
to get a GM and a coach.
Yeah, and that's the problem though, because I remember when Bill Parcells, when he was with New England, the reason why he left, he was like, "Hey, if you're gonna want me to cook the meal, why don't you let me shop for the ingredients?" And a lot of teams don't like to do that because if you have the coach as your GM, he brings in all of his players, and then when things don't work out, well, you get rid of the coach, and then you have a players that can't fit in anyone's system or have to get used to another system. Whereas a GM who works in cahoots with the coach, they bring in kind of agree on who they bring in. So even if you get rid of the coach, the GM still has the floor of bringing in players and know what kind of players he wants for the next coach to come in, and you hire that coach that's closest to what you're trying to do philosophically. And so it works that way. So I see, but yeah, you get rid of both of them, or get rid of him, you get rid of both titles. And for a prestigious job like that, because he's made it prestigious to be in New England as a football coach, you need a hell of a GM and you need a hell of a coach. I don't think you get one of these newbies coming off the street to become a coach of the New England Patriots. And first of all, those people in Boston didn't have it. That's a tough
Yeah,
mark.
who
Bringing
would replace him?
that's what I'm saying. Who would replace him? This would be something you have to bring an all time great back to play a coach, or you have to I don't I don't know. You have to have a named coach.
John Gruden
You know what? John Gruden. That's the name out there. If that's the biggest name I know out there, then I
just
mean,
just
bring somebody
just
like John
suspend
Gruden.
his email account.
Man, they're trying to keep this guy out of the NFL. John Gruden. I like John Gruden. I thought he was overrated, but I still liked him. He was a caricature, and it's always fun to have one of those. And how about the Jets going to Denver, getting the win?
Told you.
Yeah. Hey, you know what?
You gotta have some faith
Denver.
in your boy Zach, man.
Wait, no, wait. Zach, did you see him play? Oh my God,
I
bro.
watched him, but he's not giving the game away though.
Oh no, he's not giving the game away. But Zach drops back. Look down
No,
the field.
no, stop.
The defense played a damn good game against a Denver team that's not that great to start with. But you know what? I'll get a win anywhere I can. I'm not even going to complain. Not even with Zach Wilson. I just have to just salute real quick.
Yeah, and you see Sean Payne being all whiny again with the media. They
Oh,
asked him,
he's the one who
asked him
started this
about
nonsense.
yeah, they asked him about his hacky comments. Oh, we already addressed that and blah. I mean, answer the question, man. You felt boldly enough to say what you say. Now, I mean, keep that same energy, man. Answer the question. Eat
You
your
already
crow,
know.
big mouth.
And he had to come on, he's been getting beat up since he got back into the NFL. He's not used to this kind of beating. He used to having things his own way. When he was on the staff in New York with the Giants, he got his own way. They were winning up there. Now he's down here. Well, when he was just in New Orleans, he got his way, won himself a Super Bowl. Now he thought he's iconic. Now he's out in Denver. It's not going that way. You're getting beaten. You're
Did you
getting
see?
beaten in breaking proportions with Miami dropping 70 on you.
Did you
And
see how how the Jets trolled him?
no, I didn't see that part. I've heard it, but I hadn't seen it yet.
They put a picture of Kevin James as the Broncos coach because he played
Kevin
him
James.
in the yeah, he played him in the movie.
Unbelievable, man.
I can't remember the name of the movie. I never watched it. I was never interested. And now that I see how Sean Payne's acting when he's losing and just being a jerk with the media, I'm glad I didn't watch that movie. Screw
Was he
him.
ever a great coach? I mean, I thought he was a very good coach. Was he ever a great coach?
I
I
don't
don't
know.
think so.
I don't know. Let's ask him.
Oh, well, yeah, just ask him. He'll answer both of our questions. Yes
Right.
and yes. I think Tom Coughlin's a great coach. I don't think Sean Payton's a great coach. It's not even because Tom Coughlin won two Super Bowls. It helps. But I watched Tom build programs from the ground floor. Like when he came here to Jacksonville, he was the coach here forever. And how quickly they got into the playoffs and how they were 14-2, eventually 14-3 because they ended up losing to the same team 3 times, the Tennessee Titans, who ended up going to the Super Bowl that year. He's done a lot here in Jacksonville. Then he got his 2 championships up there. And even part of the coaching is communication. When he went up there and they weren't really taken to him, he got in touch with the leaders of the team and had them convey his message. And they were the conduit, the leaders of the team were the conduit to the players until they settled into the way he did things. And then they were a great team. And that's how they ended up getting those championships. But Sean Payton, I never looked at as a great coach, probably a offensive mind, but as an overall head coach, not really. You had Drew Brees. Come on, bro.
Yeah, and he's getting into it a little bit with Russell on the sideline.
You already know how that's
I
going to
don't know
go.
if he's gonna last the season, man.
Neither one of
He's,
them. You gave Russ too much money. You gave up almost your entire freaking draft for him.
I
Almost
mean,
a million.
as bad as Denver is, he might blow his top, and it's gonna get worse. I think I don't see Denver getting better.
Well, now that we got through all that NFL, there's obviously more out there, and there's more of this week to go. So we'll end up talking more NFL. There's Monday Night Football tonight. College football was played, and of course, there were several games being played this past weekend. But the most egregious game has to be the Miami Hurricanes taking on Georgia Tech. Now, I'm looking forward to North Carolina playing Miami before this week. Last week, I was thinking about North Carolina being the Achilles heel, but Georgia Tech in the past has been a pain in Miami's butt too, on the road and at home. But when I saw that 19-point line, I would have taken Georgia Tech because I was like, nah, they're going to still lose, but not by 19 and a half. And then they come out and went outright. But then this team can't even do the Colin Kaepernick and take a knee. They can't do that. They hand it off, fumble the ball. And then a team that doesn't pass a damn thing throws a bomb on you and gets a freaking touchdown. With 1 second left.
Yeah,
Those
I don't know
damn things.
how they allow that to happen. But so here's the situation. You know it. I don't know how many of the listeners know it, but I'm going to the Florida State Miami game in November.
And I'll be there
So
too, by the way.
so I'm all for the U. I'm all for Florida State because I want the best experience possible. And both teams are winning. Both teams were undefeated. And I'm like, man, if both teams are undefeated, game day might be
Oh,
there. They might make it a night game. Man, it's gonna be crazy. So Saturday, I see the score come across the bottom. Miami looks like they got it handled. I'm like, cool. We just gotta get Carolina. Just gotta get Carolina. And then later on, I get a Bleacher Report saying coaching blunder blows it for Miami. I'm like, what? So I go to YouTube. There's 40 seconds, third down. All you gotta do, I don't even know if it was 40 seconds.
bro,
Instead of taking a knee, they run it and the guy fumbles.
fumbles.
Dude, are you
Oh,
kidding me? And then how do you let one guy get behind the entire defense? Four
you
guys
can't
chasing him.
pass.
Four guys chasing him. And he scores with
Fumbles
2 seconds left. Are you kidding me?
in
Oh
Miami.
man! So now
Man,
I really need them to beat Carolina, or else it's not
bro,
going to be the same, man.
there was a minute and 20 seconds left. I was like, you know what? Good. We got away with this one, man. I hope they learned their lesson in practice and stop slacking off on teams like that and just take care of Carolina up there in Chapel Hill, which is always a problem. And it's a problem down in Miami too when they come down there. I turned it off. Like, that's it. We're good. All right. Because first of all, you're going into the second quarter, you weren't even scoring. And then you finally scored. Then you had what, 10-0? There was 10-3 or 10-7. And then you're down 14-10 almost immediately after halftime. But anyways, I'm like, well, all right, we're good. And then get waking up by the nonsense. 23-20. And I was like, that can't be. So, I'm actually dreaming about this now, like 23-20. How could I possibly be? It must be some type of typo. Nope. This is what we're dealing with now. And going up to North Carolina, and the way North Carolina has been playing of late, the way Drake May has been throwing that ball, that defense has been playing, I'm not encouraged. I'm not encouraged at all in Chapel Hill with these Canes going up there having those past problems. And in college football, that normally is a factor. In the NFL, it's not much of a factor. If one team is constantly beating you, you'll eventually get over it in about a season or two seasons, 3 seasons. In college football, you'll have things like Navy losing to Notre Dame over 40 times in a row until they finally get theirs. It's guy. I hope this is not the case with Miami. I hope the cultures change. Mario Cristobal is taking a beating. The team is taking a beating.
Cristobal
Hopefully,
should take a beating. They should take him out back behind the woodshed and
yeah, they need to take North
really
Carolina outside behind the
use
woodshed.
broomsticks and 2x4s on his ass.
Unbelievable, man. I was like, oh, God. And I finally got my tickets today for the South Carolina, Florida game in Columbia this Saturday. So I'll be heading up there to watch those Gamecocks take on the Gators, and hopefully they beat the hell out of them too. Well, you get what you get when you go up there. The Gators are a solid team, just not good. They're not bad either, but they're like in the middle somewhere. So I'll go up there this Saturday and check that out. So that will be the precursor to what we do next month when we go to Tallahassee and watch the Canes take on Florida State.
Seminoles.
Well, hey, I'm there for the experience too, and I hope I experience a win for my Canes. So keeping up with the college football, Georgia finally looking like defending champs as they absolutely destroyed Kentucky. I've been criticizing Georgia almost all season because they just hadn't had it, and I couldn't expect it either. They've lost 25 players over the past 2 drafts. The first one, 15 in 2022, 15 players, 5 in the first round, the #1 pick overall, Trayvon Walker. Last season, they lost 10 more. You can't continue to lose that type of talent and still do things the same way you've done them, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But this time they did it. They were able to destroy Kentucky, and I was surprised because Kentucky's a pretty damn good team. And Davis ran for over 280 yards against Florida. So I thought, you know what, that running game is going to be a problem. Shut down. Georgia's looking like something. Carson Beck is looking like he's finally getting it. And let's see how it works out for the rest of the season in SEC play.
Have you seen the polls?
Yeah, I see Georgia's still #1, even though I wouldn't even argue at all if Michigan's #1.
Because I saw, you can't trust everything you see, obviously, on social media. A headline said Michigan edges Georgia for #1. right before the show, I googled college rankings, and I saw Georgia number one in
Yeah.
both polls, and so I'm like, what the hell? But then you sent the link, so I was like, well, I didn't really look into it, so that's why I'm asking because I don't know.
Social
But
media will push you astray every
Michigan
time.
fan sharing his hopes and dreams, I
That's
guess.
exactly what it is. They'll put some nice looking thing together, which becomes a meme, and they'll push it as fact, and they'll just throw it out there. And you know what accentuates it? They put facts, and they might even hashtag it, so that is true. So yeah,
100 real talk.
that's it. 100, 100. Real talk. All right, man, we're taking that gospel. But yeah, Georgia looking like champs now, and Ohio State put them on notice. They did it to Notre Dame, and by the way, Notre Dame lost, and makes me and Sam Hartman look like we've lost our bonkers as well. Notre Dame lost for a second time. I'm off the Sam Hartman bandwagon. Just hope you get to the NFL as a second or third rounder now. I'll be off that for a while. But man, Ohio State took on that Maryland team, which I thought was not going to be a good matchup. Maryland's a freaking team. That team is legit, man. Loxley has those dudes playing. I was absolutely surprised. I'll be the first to say I didn't know he had that kind of team in Maryland. I didn't watch him at all. Well, I watched a little bit, but they weren't worth the time, I thought. I'm still thinking they should be in the ACC. But damn, Ohio State, our boy, Marvin Harrison Jr., man, showing up when he needed to, making plays. I mean, just they can't do anything with him. Once again, kind of rising a little bit to the spot of
Right.
trying to be a Heisman Trophy candidate. He won't win it because he missed too many games unless he just put up 300-yard games for like a couple of times. But yeah, man.
Yeah, he'd have to go crazy. But Ohio State showing they're for real.
Yeah,
It's all going to come down to when they play Michigan in the
Michigan.
Big Ten. I mean,
But I tell you what, man, the Big Ten, it's top heavy because you have three teams at the top. The SEC has more teams in the top 25. The Pac 12 has more teams in the top 25. But I think the best teams, possibly, if you looked at the triumvirate, it has to be Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. If you just looked at the best three teams, you
right?
know, in a division, in a conference, I think that's it. Because even though Alabama did win, they did go to College Station. Surprised the hell out of me a bit because I did take Texas A&M, the 12th man. Alabama went out there and Milroe looked like he was a quarterback for a little while, made some plays. And Jermaine Burton transferred from Georgia. Now Alabama drops a lot of damn passes. Has a bad attitude, in my opinion.
It didn't look good for them, you know, until they took control.
Yeah,
They were
exactly.
they were down for a lot of that game, and then but once they got the lead,
That
they,
defense, though.
yeah, they went for it. They put their foot on their neck, and they just stomped hard. I mean, it was over.
But that
So
defense, though,
credit to Alabama.
that Bama defense found his legs. That
Yeah,
Bama defense has been getting good week after week, and I think because they had to, because the offense wasn't doing a damn thing. Now the offense is slowing you down because they're not necessarily passing all the time. They're kind of doing like a running offense, but then now they're passing when they can. And it at least slows the game down and gives the defense a chance to rest. And the defense is dominant when they get out there. This is a damn good Bama defense, man. They're all over the place. I expect to see more of that, but then I'm expecting to see better teams to where Jalen Monroe can't do that anymore, like Georgia. I don't believe in LSU, and they're playing in Tuscaloosa, so I don't see that happening. But Auburn, that rivalry does matter. The lesser team can beat the better team, and they've done it before. But yeah, man, Alabama, man, give props where props, where props belong, and they got the props this past week against Texas A&M. And then what about that Red River rivalry, man? Texas and Oklahoma.
man,
No one's upset.
that was a clutch drive by Oklahoma to win that game.
Yeah, it was. Look, oh man, Oklahoma is going to move up because of that. But I thought Texas only got that high only because they beat an Alabama team we didn't know to be that wasn't that good as we thought initially. Alabama going into this week was the 11th team in the country. So that means that when you look on the record, well, Texas beat the 11th team in the country when they were number 3 because the preseason you don't know anything until you find out. Texas beat them and got there, and I'm not going to hate them because they got there. But now we're seeing that, and I thought that Texas is good, but I just don't believe in Ewers. Ewers, their quarterback. I just don't. And I think he's a solid quarterback, and I don't think Arch Mann is breathing down his neck either because, hell, he's still a true freshman. But Oklahoma, clutch, made it happen. They're moving up, I think, number 5 now because of it, and deservedly so. We're deep enough in the season to see that Oklahoma's been doing this kind of thing.
Yeah, because to go into Texas is that's not an easy task, and
No,
to come from behind in the last minute the way they did, that shows a lot of character on their part. Um, it was a nice drive. Texas, they didn't even offer much resistance on that last drive. It was surprising.
Tied.
Yeah,
They
I
went up and
guess.
down the court, up and down the field on them. But yeah,
Yeah,
man, kudos to Oklahoma, who deserves it. Texas, they're not. Come on, man. It's been expanded this year in terms of the playoffs, so Texas is still going to have their opportunity. And so this is, and it's good because they expanded the playoffs. It gives teams a chance to have a hiccup, still gather themselves, and still slip their way in. They don't have if it doesn't happen again. And Texas can't be one of those teams. But there's so many good teams though that are, that are in the top 10. I mean, we're still talking just 3 teams from the Big Ten alone: Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. And then you still talk about even Georgia, even though they did because of last year, and Alabama getting better defensively. I still don't believe in LSU, but yeah, you got some good things happening, and Texas may be able to find themselves back in there.
yeah, but I'm pretty sure Penn State plays Ohio State and
Yeah,
Michigan.
yeah, it's going to work its way out.
Yeah,
And when they do play one another, what happens if that they're only lost? Then you still stay in the top 10 or close to it, to where you can still have some meaningful wins later on, to where you can slip back into the top 8 in order to get into the playoffs. But anyway, yeah, that was
what did
something.
you
And
think about
Sanders
Shador? What did
going
you
to
think of?
ASU, Arizona State University. You said something about karma. What happened?
Oh, him going over there showing his watch to the student section. You didn't see
Oh
that?
man. See, I don't, I don't know what to say about something like that. See, that's what his father used to be. His father's not that guy anymore. He was that way back with the Atlanta Falcons, even a little bit with the Dallas Cowboys. But now he's kind of picking up his father's personality. They still won the game. I expected them to win the game by even more. I wasn't expecting a close game against Arizona State, who's not a very
Yeah,
good team this
Shador
year
had to
either.
drive him late.
Yeah, he had to drive late, and he's showing that he can read the defenses, man. Even though this is not the greatest team, he's done it on consecutive weeks now. He can guide a team. So, and I hear people talk about that. He's proven that he could play on the Power Five level from an HBCU. There have been quarterbacks in HBCU who have done it in the NFL. I remember Quinn Gray, even though he was a career backup, he still got starts. He didn't even
Doug
get drafted.
Williams.
FAMU, Gulf Coast offense, same thing. Steve McNair played in the SWAC, went out there, adjusted to the NFL. Doug Williams,
Doug
this is the old
Williams.
dude that we threw out there.
Yeah, that's what I said. Doug Williams.
Yeah, Doug Williams, man, come
But
on.
I
Old
don't know.
school.
I I I don't think it's necessary. Why go taunt the student section?
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
true.
if there's a player on defense that was talking junk to you, yeah, let him know about it. But the student section,
You
I
know
mean,
how it is. They're going to become
the
they're
student
already a
section can't
vilified team without even
student
doing any
section can't
being
do anything
vilified.
about it. You know, so I mean, because then what? Some asshole comes out the crowd and goes after him.
Yeah.
You
In
know what
this
I
day and
mean?
age, that would not be a surprise. Somebody after a game or some other nonsense tries to do
Yeah, I
something.
just I just don't think it's necessary. I mean, there's one thing to have fun, but I don't I think that's more than fun. You know what I mean? It's not just fun.
It's over the top
Me,
nonsense.
yeah, it's a little bit mean spirited too. You
And
won
you're
the
on
game.
the road, man. Come on.
You won the game. You know, just point to the scoreboard.
But
Don't
he's
don't, don't
on the
taunt
road
them,
too, man. That's not healthy.
huh?
I said he's on the road too, man. That's not the healthy thing to do. You get some crazy fan out there, man.
Yeah,
Didn't some nonsense just happen at Arizona State last year? Oh no, that was New Mexico
I'm not
State.
sure.
No, that was New Mexico State that had that issue with off the field, off the basketball court with
No,
a
I'm,
coach.
I'm just saying. But karma comes around. Karma
Yeah,
comes around.
yep. And you thought it would be in the form of Oregon doing what they had done, not necessarily USC because they were expected to lose that game, but they hung in there, and I thought that would catapult them to blowing teams out that were lesser, like ASU. They didn't do it, but they'll continue their quest. And as long as Deion Sanders is there, they're going to continue to have all eyes on them. And the recruiting looks like it's fantastic right now. People, the Pied Piper, they're coming to him like he has championships.
Yeah. Oh,
Nick Saban.
speaking of Coach Prime, I don't know if it means anything, but he was sitting on the chair during the game, and I've talked about it. I think you've talked about it. His health is a concern.
It
You
may
know,
be.
and if he can't stand because of his feet, his toe issues, Hopefully, it doesn't take him away from the team, away from the football field.
Yeah.
I wish him well, but for him to be sitting during the game, that's a little bit odd. Coaches want to be involved, see everything. So let's hope it doesn't limit him.
Yeah, it's a circulation problem he had down there. So wow, that's something sitting stationary. Maybe it was, I don't know, because he also did the same thing when he was at Jackson State when he had to sit in the buggy or ride the buggy around on the sidelines. And that was before the surgery, before the most recent surgery. Now this surgery here was the one that was really needed to where I think there was an amputation. So now, man, if he's sitting down, and I think some news would have come out about it if it was really that bad. And just seeing him on the sidelines or seeing him on television sitting in the buggy or sitting down during a game, people know what's going on with him. But I think if it was something bad, I think we would know something. Someone would say something that, it does look strange that he's out there, but people know initially that he's like that, that what's going on. If it was anything further, I think someone would have touched on it. But let's hope that things, hey, not for our own selfish reasons, for his own health,
Right.
that things are going well. That things continue to go well with
Yeah,
him.
just health wise, screw football.
This is it, exactly, man, because, you know, that could be something that kills you. And not only losing your leg, you can freaking die. So, yeah, man, I understand that part of it. But yeah, Arizona State goes down to Colorado, and Colorado 4-2 right now. Who would have ever thunk? Who would have ever thunk that? I mean, going into the season, I didn't know what to think, to tell you the truth. There were people out there that
Dion,
he ain't going to win any
Coach
games.
Prime, Coach Prime thunk it.
Yeah, well, Coach Prime thunk it, and after the first game, he had other players who wasn't thunking it. You know what I mean? They weren't thinking it. They now thunking it because there were some players who came to him after the TCU win. It was like, yo, I now believe. So that means you came into this game not really believing. Just a handful of players did. You pulled it off. Now you believe. I'd have been a little disappointed, but hey, you got your point across.
Travis Hunter practiced, I heard.
Oh, really? See,
Yeah.
now that's going to be a hell of a boost. Let's hope that he's. I know they're not going to throw him out there like they had him before, like every down pretty much. Wide receiver, cornerback, punt return, kickoff return. He's the best guy in the field. But coming back from a liver injury, the nausea alone is enough to put you back on the sidelines.
Yeah, hopefully no more cheap shots.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, dude's getting death threats over that cheap shot, man. But,
Yeah, that's
people are
wrong
that
too.
hypersensitive even over football.
Two wrongs don't make it right. And
No,
my
two
friend,
wrongs don't make it right.
I hear that, but I used to say, but two negatives equal a positive.
Well, you know what? And that's true if you know that math. That's the truth. Man, look at that. You learn about some sports, doing a little bit of math out here, and next we'll come with the Pythagorean theorem next. The next episode. But anyways, baseball is still going on. We're not neglecting baseball. This is October. Meaningful October baseball means the World Series is upon us. But let's get to the sports first.
Kershaw.
Oh my God. This guy, one of the most dominant regular season pitchers in recent memory, but just tell him it's a playoff game. And my man's like Danny Almonte who just found out he had a bad birth certificate. Everything's bad, goes down the hill. What's going on? This guy just can't get a win. They shellacked him. 1/3 of an inning, man.
Well, I don't know why it is, but I think in the playoffs, like, you have to be able to throw hard. Greg Maddux used to struggle in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He'd throw his 88 mile an hour, his 90 mile an hour two seamer, and people would square it up in the playoffs for some reason. And his velocity isn't what it used to be. He's up there in age a little bit now, and so and he's always struggled in the playoffs though.
Yeah.
But man, he didn't even wait. First inning, 6 runs.
Yeah, rocked. I mean, he got destroyed, man. And I don't get it, man. There's a certain players who don't play well in the playoffs. And pitches where you control your own destiny. You're the one that's out there that's going to decide how this flow of this game is going to go, And man, how do you go? It's like night and day. And I don't know how it happens like that. Is it something in his head? I mean, he got himself a World Series, but man, it's just like, he got a World Series.
It could also be, how I talked about teams with the bye. It's not always to their benefit. They get a few days off while the other team's playing, and they stay in rhythm.
I I think for pitchers it's different because they still do things off the field. When
Yeah,
when you're getting ready for an outing, you still pitch a little
but
bit. You can almost,
when was the last time he pitched though? It could have
I'm
been
trying to
like
remember the last time he pitched. Was it
it could have
a
been a full
month?
week or 8 days even.
Yeah, and these
You
baseball
know,
players, pitchers in particular, they are creatures of habit. If you every fifth day guy on your fifth day is your sharpest, especially you're expected to be your sharpest on your fifth day.
yeah,
If you get
bullpen
2 months,
sessions aren't the same as playoff baseball.
no, they aren't. It's not
So
meaningful October baseball. That's what it is. And
so
now
we'll see. He'll get another shot. I'm sure. Probably game 5, as long as they don't get swept.
yeah, about to say it's a 5 game series, bro. You better get something done quick, man. You better get that over
Game
some ice.
4, game 4. If they're down,
Well, now and then
well, no,
also,
if they're down 3, is it? It's over after 3, right?
yeah, it's gonna be
No,
over after
it would be 2-1.
5 game series,
I'm
bro.
tripping.
Bye
Game
bye.
4.
So long. Farewell.
Yeah, game 4 if they're down 2-1.
And how about the Rangers? The Rangers playing a lot better than
Rangers
I.
are rolling, man.
Well, are they
They're
playing a lot
rolling.
better than expected, or they expected to do this?
Can't say it wasn't expected. They have a high powered offense.
Yeah,
They out hit the Blue Jays, and now they're doing it to the Orioles going home. They just got to win one with 2 at home, right? So they're sitting pretty right now.
man. I tell you what, you look at these first round games with these wild cards and everybody getting swept. And then you go into this one, it's supposed to be more competitive. And then you see the Braves having problems with the Phillies, man. If, people just kind of use the Phillies as an afterthought. You look at them in the AL East. The AL East wasn't that great this year. The Mets are the most disappointing team, the highest payroll. But you still had Atlanta, which was just a runaway, and then Philadelphia just was doing well. But everyone's paying attention to the freaking Braves. But I think it might go back to what you're saying about not playing for so long. Now you're back out there. Now you have to kind of get back in the groove. But with that firepower they have and those young players, you think they can just jump back in the saddle?
Yeah, I was surprised that they shut down the Braves offense in game 1. Acuna was no
Strider, man,
factor.
that was more surprising. I mean,
Huh?
Strider played well and pitched well, but
Yeah,
it's just that he still got the L. He gave it the home run.
right. Uh, but we'll see what happens in game 2. They're playing right now, right?
Yep. Let me see if I can find it. Because they were down last time I checked. Oh, now they're down by 3-0. In the top of the fifth. So this game's flying by, man.
Baseball's
Bruh.
crazy, man.
Come on,
Baseball's crazy.
Braves. I anointed you World Series champs. Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking to Cunha, 70 stolen bases, 40 home runs, and
Yeah,
you thought
man.
he carried that into the playoffs. Right now, if they're down 3-0, obviously Acuna's not doing much.
Well, geez. And then you got to go back to Philly,
But they,
man.
they got 8 other players on there. It's not all just Acuna,
Oh,
so
no, especially them. I mean, didn't they have the most all-star players anyway this
I
past
think so.
all-star game? I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. You have dudes just step it up, just absolutely killing it, as they were doing all season long. Man, it isn't just Acuna, but damn, I wasn't expecting this at all. I mean, Phillies, I respect the Phillies, but this is, the Braves played so well this season, this steamroll team. They were blowing teams out. Just take the over. Every time the Braves play, take the over. You don't have
Yeah.
to go to Coors Field. Take the over. And that's what they were doing most of the season. Best record in baseball, best young stars in baseball, pitching staff looking great. And now you're down. It looks like it may be 2-0 once this is over if it continues like this.
Most baseball fans were looking forward to the Braves and Dodgers, right? And
Excellent.
with
And of course, the media outlets were.
giving the Braves the edge. Diamondbacks won game 1. Phillies look like they might win game 2. That would
Yeah.
be crazy. I don't think anybody expected
No,
D-backs and
you know what? And
Phillies.
people always talk about the media outlets, how they want the large market teams to be out there. Like back when the San Antonio Spurs were winning the way they were winning. Oh, they don't want the Spurs there because they'd rather have somebody in Boston or somebody in LA or whatever. I don't even mention New York because they ain't going anywhere. But you talk about these large cities that they want to have the game in, or these big cities represented to make more money and all that other nonsense. But yeah, man, I don't think that Major League Baseball and the powers that be want to roll into Arizona, man, for a championship. I mean, I wouldn't mind. But if you're talking dollars and cents, whatever, I don't know the dynamics and how they get paid that way. And I know why it would be more or less than what it would be in New York or Chicago or LA.
Yeah.
But come on, man. You want the best players out there, and if it's a scrappy team like the Diamondbacks can get out there and push the envelope like they're doing, hey, I like to just watch it to see how that goes. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Hey.
I'm sure the MLB's pulling hard for the Dodgers. They want that.
Let's
They
not
want
hope there's
that.
some shenanigans though.
They want that
The
big
forced dish.
market. They want that big market share,
Yeah,
TV share.
I hope they don't try to put their fingers on the pulse of the team and bring it back to life if things are going awry.
Yeah, and in the American League, the Twins got one in Houston, so now they're going home with two to play.
See, now I forgot. You mentioned that earlier before the show, and I'm thinking about it now. Like, oh shoot, yeah, the Twins did win. You don't want them to win because they're part of the
Yeah, and
AL Central.
Carlos Correa, he wants a little revenge on the Astros.
Well, he may actually get it because this past season, the Astros and the Texas Rangers were tied. I mean, you're talking that Battle of Texas. These dudes couldn't even finish settle the battle. I mean, so you got the same record. You're both in the playoffs, but it looks like you both might be getting out of the playoffs if you don't straighten it out.
We'll see.
Well, no, the
It's
Texas
1-1.
Rangers will
So,
still be in the playoffs the way they're playing. The Astros are going to
yeah,
be out. They found themselves a few enemies over the years. Anyway,
yeah.
anything else you want to close with before we get up out of here?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah,
Cowboys overrated. Cowboy fans on suicide watch.
yeah.
Something like that. I
Suicide Watch. It should have started on Friday. You're on the clock. You in Arizona now. Cowboys are on the clock. You need
don't
Jimmy Johnson back to manipulate the draft like he did back in 1990.
Yeah,
Hey,
and just for the record, I know the Bears suck, and I acknowledge the Bears suck. That's the difference, Cowboys fans.
they can't acknowledge it. They hear these personalities. They listen to Michael Parsons, and they just go with that. CeeDee Lamb, they go with that. They go with names, but not the production and what the team does that gives them that end result. Well, we'll be looking back at this tomorrow. Obviously, the Monday night game being played tonight, the Green Bay Packers are out there, and we'll have some news on that tomorrow. Also, this baseball that's going down, we'll have the results from that and look forward to some other baseball games as well. College football, maybe decipher that a little bit more, and you just never know what happens overnight. We didn't know anything about Dick Buckus doing what he had done when we left the show. We don't want any news like that, but you know how news can just hit you at the last moment or when you least expect it, and even big news like that was. I'm Trav. He's biased. Sports Bag Bros are signing off. Episode 67. See you next time.